It's illegal to sweep yard debris into a catch basin. It causes water pollution and sewer backup. Use biodegradable bags or redistribute lawn and leaf clippings for fertilizer. If you see someone dumping waste into a catch basin, report it immediately. Remember, only rain down the storm drain.
Welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm Leah Haslage. With us today is Skip White, who is the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. Welcome, Skip.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So, it's election year. Absolutely. You guys are super busy, I'm sure. But first, for people that may not be familiar, tell us what the Board of Elections is.
Absolutely. Our goal at the Board of Elections is to provide excellent customer service and to foster an understanding of the election process. We also provide a means for U.S. citizens of Cuyahoga County, Cuyahoga County, to practice their civic right and their right to vote.
So, what does the board do right now, like leading up into an election? Kind of give us a overview.
That's a pretty broad question. We have 5 different departments. Each department plays a key role into the election process, from registration, that is constantly registering people to vote, to sending out absentees, to receiving absentees. Up to date, I believe, as of today, we've received probably 160,000 applications to vote by mail. That's 90% of the county. You have the ballot department that has to prove every ballot. Every ballot has to be proved. Each ballot is precinct specific, so we can't have a mistake on sending a ballot from Cleveland to Warrensville or vice versa. Community outreach, we're constantly doing educational pieces. We're at events trying to register people to vote. It's a pretty broad process. We have our election support staff. They're focused on packing material, making sure the right equipment gets to the location. So it's a pretty broad question, but everybody's working pretty hard right now.
Well, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, but it's not just about leading up into the election. You're busy post-election.
Absolutely.
So kind of walk us through what you would be doing then after the election's over.
Absolutely. Well, right after the election is over, everything that went out as far as machinery, supply bags, obviously the ballots, everything has to come back to the main building. Everything has to be accounted for. Each ballot has to be counted. So post-election is probably more important than before the election, actually. During the election cycle, for example, right now, we hired around 5,500 temps. And that's from polling locations to after the election to in-house. So, if you think about it, that's 5,500 jobs, from September to almost like the end of November. So like I said, we definitely need the help. Like I said, we have a total of 376 locations. Each location can have up to 4 precincts. Okay, stick with me. We have about 975 precincts. The more precincts a location has, the more workers they'll have. So meaning a precinct, well, I'm pretty sure you know what a precinct is, but that's a small part of the city. So if you have a location with 4 precincts, you'll have up to 15 to 20 workers. So it's a pretty tough cycle.
And are you constantly hiring?
Well, during election cycle, yes. You have departments like our ballot department, year-round they have temps. They're hiring temps year-round. Registration, they're year-round hiring temps, but not every department, no.
But you also have a very strong volunteer base.
Absolutely. Actually, we don't hire volunteers, but let's say like I'll go to an event to pass out registration. There'll be 6 other organizations or volunteers handing out information or trying to register people to vote. So, it is a year-round job for some people. I'm sure they're working for some type of organization, nonprofit, or possibly a candidate, but it's a pretty sweet process.
Speaking of registering to vote, you mentioned community outreach earlier. I know one thing you did this year for this election cycle is you started having drive-through ways to register. Yeah. So tell us about that.
That was something the community outreach program, or the community outreach department came up with. We thought it would be a good idea. It took the hassle off of coming into the building. You just drive up, we give you a clipboard, you fill out the information, and you're on your way. It takes it takes 2 minutes. We thought it would be a good way to advertise. We actually invited you guys. You guys came through. It was a good look. We actually have another event coming up. The close of registration is October 11th. We're going to do one more event before the close at Public Square. We're just trying to get as many people as possible registered to vote, because everyone deserves a right to vote.
What do you think keeps people from wanting to register? Have you guys seen a situation with people, whether it's access to get to the registration place, or whether it's just not wanting to register, they don't want to vote?
Just with my experience in being out in the field, some people tend to have some type of doubt towards the election process. I'm not sure why, and I believe that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm in the community, to educate and let every person that I come in contact with know that each and every vote counts. We count every ballot. No ballot goes unnoticed, and that's pretty much the voter education side of when I speak of going out to events and not just registration. I field a lot of questions on why should I vote? My vote doesn't count. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, that gets said a lot, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And I was surprised how much I heard when I first started. I was extremely surprised how often that came up. Like, that was almost like the number one question. I'm thinking, like, where have I been for you guys to ask me this all the time?
What's been the biggest way to try to get the youth involved, to try to get the youth to vote, to register, to be involved in volunteering with the Board of Elections?
Our polling location department has formed a partnership with, I'm not sure the high schools we actually use, but they formed a partnership where they're hiring up to, I believe, somewhere in the 200 to 300 children, our kids, I'm sorry, have to be 18. They have to be registered to vote. And like I said, that's something our poll worker department is dealing with. So like I said, we get the high schools. Today, I just came from Cleveland Heights High School. I registered about 30 kids. So we're trying to reach out to the youth, and I think the best way to do it is in high school. I feel like as soon as you turn 18, for what reason are you not registered to vote right then and there? So we're trying to partner up with as many high schools as possible.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it is a huge right to have.
Absolutely.
Now, how can people get more information on the Board of Elections?
We have a website. Well, I'll give you a link to our website. It's called 443vote.com. That directs you directly to our website. It answers any question you may have as far as, am I registered to vote? Where do I vote? If you want to track your ballot. It has anything you need, it's on our website.
Yeah. Change of address.
Change of address, absolutely. Yep. Absentee.
Absentee.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Skip. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure our viewers have as well. Now, when we return, we're going to have host Enrique Carrera in studio with Councilman Zack Reed. So stay tuned for more Community Spotlight.
Attention voters, to vote by mail in the November 8th general election, you must obtain, complete, and return a ballot application. Call 216-443-VOTE or visit 443vote.com to request a ballot application. Ballots must be postmarked on or before November 7th. If you have any questions, call 216-443-VOTE or visit 443vote.com to make your voice heard and vote.
Welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm Enrique Correa, and I'm joined with Councilman Zack Reed, and we're going to be talking about gun violence in our community. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
What's going on out there?
Oh, it's a lot going on out there, some good, some bad, but we're going to try to get to the bottom line of the problem of violence in the city of Cleveland. We are on the verge of going 3 straight years of 100 homicides here in the city of Cleveland. Over 500 people have been shot in the city of Cleveland so far in 2016. So on average, someone gets shot every single day in the city of Cleveland. and on average, someone gets killed every single week in the city of Cleveland. There's no way to run a city. There's no way to talk about the prosperity that's going on in the city, because there are a lot of great things that are going on in the city, but this underlying current of violence in our wards and in our communities and our neighborhoods just continues.
It's Nonviolence Week here in Ohio. Tell me about that and some of the efforts you've done to bring this, I guess, this program together.
Well, we got to thank God for our young people. Our young people were able to convince our General Assembly a few years ago that we need to make the awareness of violence in the state of Ohio, we need to take it to the top level. And I was glad to see that the General Assembly made the first week in October Nonviolence Week in the state of Ohio. We also have to be made aware that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So ironically, these two things come together. And it's just one of those situations where, you know, violence, we're in the inner city, so we know that violence is here. Violence is everywhere, right. But there are solutions to the violence. And what we're trying to say to individuals, that this is not a situation that cannot be solved. And the cities, the communities that have seen a dramatic reduction of violence have used what we call the public health model.
Okay.
And that's where you have a hospital-based violence reduction program. And what we've done is we are now partnering with our 4 healthcare institutions, Sisters of Charity, Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital, and Metro Health, to come to the table so we can try to develop a public-private partnership to deal with the violence here in the city of Cleveland.
And how has that response been so far?
Well, I can tell you that a year ago, this is going to be our 3rd forum. And the first year we had my mentor and friend, Mayor Willie Brown, come and talk about the way that we were able to say to the people in San Francisco that we've got one of the worst public housing developments in the country. But in 1 year, we were able to go from one of the worst to one of the best. And that was involving everybody. Everybody had to come around the table. So he came here and he talked about, if you're going to solve this problem of violence, everybody's got to be at the table. A year ago, we brought the hospitals to the table. I was happy to see that all 4 of them came. And we talked about this program that's called the Interrupters. And the Interrupters are individuals that are formerly incarcerated, formerly gang members, formerly people on the street that had a violent lifestyle before. And they go back into our neighborhoods, go back into our communities, and they talk to people on the streets that this violence is not normal. And that's the problem we have here in the city of Cleveland. We are becoming so callous, we're becoming so, we're coming to a point to where we believe this is normal. When you think about what just happened about a week or 2 ago, a 69-year-old man was getting dressed in his own house. 9 gunshots rang out. He was shot and killed. The person that's either in the house or a neighbor or something like that said, I heard the 9 gunshots, but I hear gunshots all the time. So I went back to sleep.
So they're getting numb to the situation.
Then he got back and he came up and he went back into the house where the gentleman was at and he found him dead on the street. See, we've got to get to the point, and that's where the Interrupters go back out into our neighborhoods and tell people this is not normal. But they also go to the hospitals, and that's where the hospital-based interrupter program works so well in New York and in San Francisco, Baltimore, and other locations. When individuals are shot, they go to the hospital, and they call it the golden moment. The moment where an individual knows, I could have been shot and killed. And they talk to that individual and tell them, you know, you were lucky this time. You may not be lucky next time. So therefore, you got to give up this lifestyle. You got to put that gun down. And they work together with that individual to give up that lifestyle. Because if you look at it, that 90% of the shootings here in the city of Cleveland are retaliatory.
Right.
So if we can make a dent into the retaliatory shootings in the city of Cleveland, we can do something about the violence here in the city of Cleveland.
So the Interrupters are almost like a scared straight type of mentality. They want to tell them, look, you've already gotten shot. Do you want this to happen again? And this is what you need to do.
Exactly.
And what is what have you seen so far with some of these?
Well, we haven't done a very good job here in the city of Cleveland. We're working on it, but we're not doing a very good job here. But in other cities, you look at New York City. Right now, as you and I are talking, we have 90 plus homicides here in the city of Cleveland. In New York City, 8 million people. Right. They got 240. So you think about, we got 400,000, they got 8 million, but they brought in this program. And the program is not just, we just don't go talk to them in the hospital, we go back to those neighborhoods. And we say to the people in those neighborhoods, this is not normal. And we talk to the community groups. We talk to the residents of those neighborhoods. We talk to the churches. We talk to the schools. And we begin to say to those individuals in those neighborhoods, in those communities, that we've got to work together here.
Right.
And you start to see community policing. You start to see police officers working with the residents. You see the residents working with the schools. And everybody gets to the point to where they're saying, you're right, this is not normal.
Okay. And this is your third forum that's coming up, right?
That's correct.
What do you think you've learned? How can we step forward?
Well, I can tell you, a year ago, when we brought people from New York, San Francisco to talk about this public health model, and this is the model that's working around the country, and we talked about the interrupters program, we had 0 interrupters here. Thanks to the United Way and Metro Health, now there's going to be a grant to train the interrupters to go into Metro Health. So we can say that last year, when we talked about the interrupters at the forum, when we had no interrupters going into the hospitals, now we can say a year later, we're going to have 1, possibly 2. The second thing that we're going to put together this year, there are going to be 3 panels. 1 panel with the hospitals. I'm glad to see that, that Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital, Metro Health, and Sisters of Charity are stepping up to the plate to talk about their economic development. Because one of the things when you go talk to these individuals in the hospital or in the neighborhood, and they say, well, I'm willing to give up this gun, I'm willing to give up this violent lifestyle, but what am I going to get for it? Right. We got to be able to say we're going to give them something. It may be a job. It may be better education. It may be better housing. But we've got to do whatever we have to do for them to put down that gun. So that's going to be the component of economic development in our healthcare industry, tying it back to violence reduction. The second component the second panel will be with the Cleveland Foundation's MyCom. MyCom are young people working in both in the inner city and in the suburbs. We're going to give them cameras, and we're asking them to go through their neighborhoods to take pictures of what they believe are unsafe conditions and safe conditions. And they're going to tell us on October 27th at Cleveland State University what they deem to be safe and unsafe by pictures, by photos. So that's going to be their panel. We're going to let the young people tell us from their eyes how do they see their community. And then the third panel will be a panel of successes. That how is the interrupted program? How can we put a community-based program, community policing in our communities and in our neighborhoods? So there'll be 3 panels of having a conversation, not about the problem of violence. We can talk about the problem of violence until the cows come home.
Exactly.
This is about solutions. What can we do in the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days to make a dent in the violence that's in our city?
And what are you hoping that the results will be?
Oh, my hope the results will be that we'll see a dramatic reduction of violence in our community. And we always hear people say, well, violence is up around the nation. And that's absolutely true. But in the city of Cleveland over the last 5 years, those numbers haven't come down and then gone up. Those numbers have continued to go this way. Right. And what I'm hoping is that we can put together a robust, comprehensive, community-based violence reduction program that has a public-private partnership. Cleveland coined that phrase, right. Public-private partnership. So if we can put together a public-private partnership to improve education, to improve the economic conditions in our community, then we should be able to put together a public-private partnership to deal with the violence in our community.
Well, I thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Some great points. And
once again, it's going to be Thursday, October 27th, at Cleveland State University, Wolstein Center. It's free of charge, but you do have to register.
And I hope that you have a great turnout, because it's important that, we see violence in the streets. It needs to go down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. When we return, we're going to have Marcella Brown from the BPACF, which stands for the Black Professional Association Charitable Foundation. So stay tuned.
Attention voters! To vote by mail in the November 8th general election, you must obtain, complete, and return a ballot application. Call 216-443-VOTE or visit 443vote.com to request a ballot application. Ballots must be postmarked on or before November 7th. If you have any questions, call 216-443-VOTE or visit 443vote.com. Make your voice heard and vote.
I'm Enrique Correa, and welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm here with Marcella Brown and Paul Farrington, and let me get this acronym correct. It's BPACF. You're the executive director, and you're a board member, and I'm say it again, the Black Professionals Association Charitable Foundation. Tell me a little bit about your organization and the upcoming events you have.
Sure. So the Black Professionals Association Charitable Foundation, also known as BPACF, has a mission to create opportunities for African Americans through scholarship, education, and leadership development. And how we do that is we have various events throughout the year that include networking opportunities, leadership series, speaking engagements, and of course our signature scholarship and awards gala. And these opportunities help us to raise funds for our scholarship programs and youth development initiatives.
And you, Paul, tell me a little bit about it.
Sure. An exciting thing about it, and I just joined earlier this year, we took our scholars to the Indians game, and at the game we got a chance to not only learn about what their interests are, kind of break the wall a little bit about, make them feel a little more comfortable, tell them a little bit more about our careers, and give them some advice on not only participation in school activities, college activities, aspirations beyond just what they're doing right now, and to give them a little bit more about our backgrounds and some of the experiences that we've had and where we've come from.
Marcella, why do you think this is important in this day and age? I guess it would give some of these youngsters someone to look up to, mentoring, that type of thing. Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. You know, a recent study conducted by Georgetown University showed that by the year 2018, in the state of Ohio, nearly 60% of all jobs will require a degree beyond a high school diploma. Right. Unfortunately, in Cuyahoga County and in Northeast Ohio, only 28% of the citizens in this community have a degree beyond high school. And what that means is that we're going to find ourselves as a community in a position where we have thousands of jobs that we cannot fill. And we're starting to feel that right now, even as we get closer and closer towards that mark, we're starting to see that there are literally thousands of jobs in our community that we cannot fill because our workforce is not prepared and not trained to do so. And our mission as an organization is to connect young people from our community to the opportunities for training, professional development, and leadership development that will prepare them for those opportunities. The events that we have throughout the year, our speaker series, we have an internship boot camp, we do a scholarship search day. These all create opportunities for those young people that we serve and partner with to find opportunities for training, to find the funding to afford the training, and to gain career opportunities and exposure so that they can then fill those positions and so that we can create a pipeline of talent for Northeast Ohio.
And Paul, how important are Black role models in the community? Someone positive for these kids to look up to.
Sure. It's a simple mantra. They will be what they see. And that's extremely important. And coming from, now I relocated up here from Florida. And one of the things I was encouraged when I was growing up was the leadership that the African Americans had in my community. I wasn't affluent, and I saw that not only hard work for those who didn't even go to college, but who pursued and encouraged their children to pursue post-high school degrees, different communities to make sure that they gave back, because it was just as important not only to pursue education, invest in education, invest in young people, but also to develop and build from there for the next generation. Those are just a couple pillars that influence me and I see as important for Northeast Ohio and particularly the greater Cleveland area.
Everybody needs their role models,
Yes,
everybody. And I understand you are honoring Dr. Alex Johnson at your event, your gala that's upcoming. Tell me, why did you pick this gentleman and what has he provided and given to this community?
Sure. So Dr. Johnson will be our 2016 Black Professional of the Year. We're very excited to honor him, someone who we consider a distinguished scholar, a lifelong learner. He's the president of Tri-C, and what many people may or may not know is that Dr. Johnson is actually a boomeranger. He was the president of Tri-C Metro Campus years ago, and he returned to Northeast Ohio after a brief time as presidents of other community colleges throughout the Midwest. We feel that that story of coming back to Cleveland, of sewing into our community really resonates, especially at a time right now, I think after the return of people like LeBron James, who came back and helped this city to win a national championship. But Dr. Johnson truly was selected for his commitment to education, for leading Tri-C to be one of the premier community colleges throughout the United States. And just his commitment to leadership and opportunity in Northeast Ohio is just something that really resonates with our mission of scholarship and education and leadership, but also to just the commitment to seeing Northeast Ohio continue to progress, to seeing Cleveland return to a city of greatness, and to again sewing into seeing more people gain degrees, gain training, and become gainfully employed and really productive residents of our community.
And yourself, what do you have to say about that, Paul?
It was exciting to see, when I first came here, to see where Tri-C was and now the stature of how it's developed, to seeing the programs, to seeing my friends who now are excited to go back to school, find the funding, and pursue post-high school degrees. It's exciting to see that, because now education is becoming that much more important, not only from a career standpoint, but just also for opportunities. And there's a lot of it here in Ohio.
Not only that, I feel that education, not only do you get smarter, I think you feel prouder of yourself for accomplishing things when you go and you get your college degree and your high school and you graduate from high school. Those types of things are very important, especially role models and mentors, and I think that's great that your organization is providing that. That's as much as we have for today. I want to thank all my guests for coming in. Skip White with the Board of Elections, Councilman Zack Reed, Marcella Brown, Paul Farrington, I thank you for coming on our show, and that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us at Community Spotlight, and I hope you keep watching.